It's cloudy now, like. I've all 4 windows in my car down. There's not much of a breeze. I'll do a time check. $15.53. I'll scoot into there. This is probably about the best day I'm going to get. It would have been better if it had been raining, like this morning. Alright, I'm going to put on my mask. It's worth seeing, is it? Is it worth seeing?
Oh, very much.
Is it aye?
Aye, very good. Very interesting.
Thank you. Oh God. Do you sanitize my hands before staying or after? I'm gonna do it after. Oh, a couple of wee leopards there. Souvenir carpet. Hey there. One please. One adult please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just go through here.
The documentary in there.
There's the museum building.
Full of information, honestly.
The workshop.
Friendly
the
local
searchlight
house.
enclosure and the police guard. And of course, the 2 tunnels.
See, you need a wee reset button now to reset that.
The early 1900s. The wider site is surrounded by, when you need a little refreshment, the old forge is now home to the most scenic coffee shop along the whole of the
See, I've just paid €7 to find a bit of castle. I don't want to know I can hire this little wedding. I don't want to know I can spend money on a cafe. I want to know about the fort. All they're doing is advertising themselves. This is like a commercial.
Kayaking safaris and
This is a lot of bullshit here, like. What do I know about the castle? The fort? Huh? That must be the end. Maybe we'll come
We
to this
hope
now.
that you enjoy your
Oh, that's right.
exploring all that Fort Dunree has to offer and take memories of this unique and historic place with you wherever you go.
I remember the friendly smile as I came in the door. Sound system, it's Bose speakers, but you wouldn't know it was Bose.
Welcome to Fort Dunree on the
No bass on the
spectacular
side.
eastern shore of Lough Swilly in County Donegal. Just beyond Dunree Head, Lough Swilly joins the powerful Atlantic Ocean, with Fort Dunree sitting as a diligent, watchful sentinel at the northwest corner of Europe. As one of only 3 glacial fjords in Ireland, Lough Swilly provides a safe harbour for ships crossing this vast ocean. It is this rugged location which has given Dunree its strategic importance for key events over time, ones which are explored further in our exhibition as we outline the unique history which has unfolded in this breathtaking location. By the late 1700s, Britain was at war with France and Spain. In 1798, the leader of the United Irishmen, Wolfe Tone, planned an uprising to liberate the Irish people from British rule. Having secured support from the French, a fleet of warships under Admiral Bompard prepared to land Tone nearby, but a naval battle with the British fleet saw their defeat. Tone was arrested and 7 French ships were seized. This was the second time the French fleet had penetrated so far north, and and it prompted the British to immediately fortify Lough Swilly against the threat of Napoleonic invasion. The Defence Fortification Scheme of 1800 saw forts constructed along both banks of Lough Swilly, at Knockalla, McCamish and Rathmullen on the west bank, and Inch, Ned's Point and Dunree on the east bank. Fort Leman was not constructed until later in 1902. Under British control, Fort Dunree was constantly developed, even after the threat of Napoleonic invasion had subsided. Permanent buildings were constructed, the water supply was secured, and the armaments were repeatedly upgraded with newer and more effective artillery. During early World War I, the entire British Grand Fleet was temporarily stationed at Lough Swilly, while anti-submarine defences were constructed at Scapa Flow, their permanent base in the Shetland Islands of northern Scotland. During their stay in Lough Swilly, an anti-submarine boom was laid between Ned's Point and McCamish to prevent unauthorised access. While the fleet was stationed here, Admiral Lord Jellicoe reported that, for the first time since the declaration of war, the fleet occupied a secure base. The writer Dennis Ireland was stationed at Fort Dunree when the fleet left, and he described the sight of their departure as watching long lines of warships filing through the Narrows, each ship illuminated in turn by searchlight. What a magnificent sight it must have been. It was also during World War I that Lough Swilly became an assembly point for convoys crossing the Atlantic. This resulted in German submarines and minesweepers becoming much more active along the north coast of Ireland. During World War I alone, over 70 ships were sunk within 80 kilometres of Fort Dunree. Two of the most famous of these would become the super dreadnought battleship HMS Audacious and the White Star liner RMS Laurentic. While World War I raged, here, the Easter Rising of 1916 was the beginning of Ireland's emergence as a republic. Following the end of World War I in 1918, the War of Independence in Ireland in 1919 ended with the signing of the Anglo-Irish Treaty of 1921 and established the Irish Free State and led to the creation of Northern Ireland. Although most state bodies were returned to Irish control, the three port facilities at Bearhaven, Cove and Lough Swilly were retained by the British. These became known as the Treaty Ports and were not to be returned to Irish control until the new Anglo-Irish Agreement of 1938, which was signed by British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain and the Irish Taoiseach Eamon de Valera. Fort Dunree was the last treaty port to be handed back to the Irish state. Despite the fanfare and crowds which had gathered for the handover ceremony in Bearhaven, the ceremony at Fort Dunree was a small and quiet affair. What may be considered symbolic of the good relations between the outgoing British troops and the incoming Irish troops was that the officer who lowered the Union flag and the one who hoisted the Irish tricolour were brothers-in-law married locally. With the handover complete, the Irish troops set about military life in Fort Dunree, providing coastal defence until the outbreak of World War II in 1939. As Ireland remained neutral during World War II, this period was known as the emergency in Irish history. Fort Dunree was on high alert due to both the threat of invasion from Germany, but also from a potential retaking of the treaty ports by the British. Throughout World War II, the troops at Fort Dunree were tasked with recovering the bodies from the many planes that crashed in Inishowen. Soon after the end of World War II, Fort Leman was closed and the guns of Dunree were placed in a state of long maintenance, supported by a small attachment of coast defence artillery personnel. From around 1952 until 1989, Fort Dunree continued to be used regularly as a training camp for the FCA, the Army Reserve Force. The last firing of the guns took place during one of these training sessions in 1964. Despite the fact that the big guns had been fired during practice every year between 1913 and 1945, the guns of Dunree have never been fired in anger. It was the foresight of several key figures in the Defence Forces which led to the development of Fort Dunree Military Museum, which opened its doors in 1986. The lower fort, where we are now, hosts a variety of areas to explore. There's the museum building, the underground bunker, the workshop, the searchlight enclosure and the police garden, and of course the two guns which have been in position since the early 1900s. The wider site is surrounded by breathtaking scenery which is best experienced along the 3 kilometres of walking trails. These trails take in the top fort, the practice battery and the Laurentic Memorial, with each area providing excellent opportunities for wildlife watching when the weather is right and the rugged, picturesque, spectacular scenery all year round. The Saldanha Suite houses the Rock Hill collection of military memorabilia, a wildlife exhibition, and also makes a unique wedding venue. And when you need a little refreshment, the Old Forge is now home to the most scenic coffee shop along the whole of the Wild Atlantic Way. The management group have ensured that Fort Dunree remains integral to the local community. Their efforts support several community-based initiatives, including yoga classes, kayaking safaris, and exhibitions by local artists and art link. We hope that you enjoy your visit, exploring all that Fort Dunree has to offer, and take memories of this unique and historic place with you wherever you go.
Oh, the rest exciting in the woods. I don't see folk around here wearing masks. If they don't, I'll take mine off. I'm double vaccinated, am I? So what a waste system here. The crowds. The overwhelming crowds. Water supply. So it came from a river. The river provided the main water supply for Fort Dunree. Water was taken by a piping from a point about half a mile east of the fort and pumped up to 18,000 gallon tanks at the top of the fort. Rainwater was collected and run underground into a tank. From here it was pumped through 2-inch galvanized piping. 18,000 gallon tanks on the top fort. Main drinking water supply was provided by 2-inch pipes to sedimentation and filter tanks. That's what I was saying earlier on. So it could just be full of sand. It would filter down through it. See that searchlight there? See it's on wheels. They can move it around. Anti-aircraft, built between 1938 and early 1940s. Powered by 110 volt 24 VA. So I see it had tracks on it. Wee tracks on it. This one doesn't have the tracks, it's missing. Billy Butland was supposed to have got a pair of these lights, the mirrors off them, and put them in his first holiday camp This holiday camp was supposed to be an old barracks, the old wooden huts. So Billy Button could have started off here had he been here. So you never know. That's how his holiday camp started. I seen in the picture there they had flags up in these poles, and the second flag over was Union Jack. When they opened up, it was £1 when they opened the place up. So that wee gun there is in the original position. The boat's broke down. That's what happens when a fishing boat breaks down. There's no fishing boats available, you give it a wee tow in. Interesting thing they said in the video there was that them other guns on the side were training guns. Them big guns, probably shell cost a fortune. So to get the grips of the thing, you use a wee smaller shell. Probably the aiming and all would be similar. They had a pane of glass in there to display that one time. But that's another one. There's a light in there as well. That's the thing where they held the bombs. So that's the main. I'd rather have the original one that's up the top of the hull with the rusty doors. So back when they opened this up, they must have put a piece of glass in here. Maybe they had a couple of wee shells, but it's since disappeared. And that's the worst thing about museums. They let you see what they want you to see. And look at that. That thing shouldn't be there. There should be shells in there. There should be a steel door in there. But now they've made it into crap things like all they need now is an out display. See the wooden windows, like that's falling apart. The top 4 steel doors are better. See, this is more interesting down here in the bottom if they want to keep it original. See, there's one of the things they shot out of. An anvil doesn't belong there. Before it's going back a couple hundred years, that anvil could be maybe 100 years. All these tools, I don't. Grindstone. Grindstone doesn't belong here. They're still building the castle here.
Welcome to the workshop. Most of the tools you see here date back to before World War I. The fact that they still work shows the craftsmanship that went into their making. These were definitely built to last. Because Fort Dunree was a military installation when it was under both British and Irish jurisdiction, the garrison had to be as self-sufficient as possible, just in case something happened where we couldn't get supplies in. So, there's always been a workshop as part of the garrison, and we've been lucky enough to have some talented soldiers who can repair almost anything. But every craftsman needs tools and somewhere to work. So we had the forge, where the coffee shop is now, as well as this workshop. We had some kitchen gardens and most of the soldiers had trade when they signed into service, which is always very useful. Enjoy the rest of your visit.
Good idea how it worked there. This wouldn't have been a workshop. Too noisy. You wouldn't work in here with tools. They just shoved the tools in here. Workshop could have been one of them very steel tin barns up there that have since rusted away and just brought the stuff in here. You know, there was a boy shooting out of there one time. That was a far boy to shoot out of. It's hard to see where we shoot at that angle, but there's something to shoot at. And they're smoking away. Very clay pipes. Mind your head, bunkers. There's a wee crane there to drop stuff down. Rusted. So they could have fixed that. You pull that out, hang a wee thing on it, swing it across, and then load down. A wee wheel in the end. This has been all cleaned up here. Wow. What's that saying there? Might actually show up better in the camera, you know. That's right in there. That's an hour. Aye. See, that should have been preserved there. Painted over it. See, I'd like a wee notice here now. A wee piece up in that. What was this for? Somebody wrote their name in here in 1999. That was hollow. But it's the cavity, but the bricks don't look very thick. Look at the raw plugs there. Gee, it's like woodworm. It's full of raw plugs. See, I don't know. I tried the old one up above. All the original stuff. It's just... There's some of the shells. Fire alarms and stuff. You check out wee slit out there. It's not here to tell me what this place was. It didn't build a lock. Cartridge store. So that's what I mean. Cartridge store. And they painted over the one on the other side. So there's the other one, cartridge store. It's the same room. But that there should be photographed one way. That should be photographed and preserved. Because once it disappears. And right up there, it's a lot higher. That is cartridge at the start. But that's not stored, S-T-O-R. I don't know, the storage seems a lot higher up. This store is trying to repair it, made a mess of it. What's the size of the hole it is to get an electric conduct through? I think they don't get a smaller drill than that, they just put that up with a big hammer. Like you made that up nice and small. Why is that one so big? I'm expecting crowds here. There's an wee lift, so they're lowered there. I mean, I should have known that. Look, that's working. We'll come along with a wooden wheelbarrow. One of them wee ropes and a wee, what do you call them things? The wee wheel thing, wee winch wheel. You lift it up, hold it, swing it in, swing it in, swing it in, swing it in, lower it down onto an wee trolley. So I spent all the time moving those shells back and forth. All these would have been all shells there. I wouldn't even be safety glass. If this was built back in whatever year they built it. Where's the original steel door? There's nothing there to tell you what the wee hooks are for. I come in here, I'm none the wiser. I don't know how this fort worked. There's nothing to tell me. There's more evidence of the old one. There's nothing to tell me that was angled like that because of blast waves. I have to guess that for myself. Why was the fort constructed the way it was? Now see, the only thing about here now, if I had seen this before, I'd have thought this was a wee gun sight. I've never dawned on me there could be. That is the site. I thought that was, is that a searchlight? Is that a site? Is that a name? See, I've never seen a site. I don't know what they look like. But I didn't think there'd be a mirror behind the site, but that must be how they work. How do see? There's nothing in there to tell. There looks like. Is that not like a limelight? Is that a light? See, I'm looking at something. I don't know what I'm looking at. There's nothing to tell me. Here we are. Carbon arc searchlight. So there you are, carbon. That's the carbon there. Arc, there's some from a voltage goes from one to the other, isn't it? That's an arc. And then you get like a light comes off a bit like a welder. But in this time it's not welding, it's only arcing. It gives off the light. So that is the searchlight. So how did a carbon arc light work? Searchlights were installed between 1902 and 1905 to both illuminate enemy ships attack at night and assist the Royal Navy steamers inspecting any ships entering the loch. The beam of light it generates is so powerful it easily illuminates the village of Port Song on the opposite side of the loch. Saying they could read the newspapers at night time at the other side of the loch. I don't know. Must be big print. The light is generated by passing an electric current through the possibly charged carbon rod, forming an electric arc, which is then focused by the conveys of the mirror. Each set of rods provide light for approximately 2 hours before needing replace. Light is still in working order and was last used in 2011 on the 200th anniversary of the sinking of HMS. So it still works. Everything here works. Look at that, boys, look. That really does work. But see, that's what I mean there, look. For what little adjustment I'm giving that, and it is easy. It is easy to move that. Look how much that light's moving. That's not taking no effort at all, and there's no grease in that. Believe it or not, it's actually harder to put down. Put back. It must be the weight of the back. The back's heavier than the front. Let's turn this baby around here. Now that is a lot stiffer. I don't see nothing moving around. I disconnected that. That one's disconnected. It ain't moving. It's a lot of contraption to it. You think that that'd be like a metal bar goes through there, do it manually. That's stuff with brakes on it. How many bits and pieces do you need for a light? And you see, you're supposed to peep in through there to see that probably opens up then to change it. That there just must be ventilation. Fumes. The smoke must come up through that. Stop it smoking up the mirror. And comes out these vents and then go out the roof. And that mechanism going in and out, that must be the focus of light. Like a wide beam and a short beam. A bit like a modern torch. Instead of moving the lens, you move this piece. Or will it do them, I don't know. You need to look up YouTube and find out how one of these works. This lifts off here with glass. So if the glass needs replacing, you lift this off. And again you lift it off for cleaning. Now see for a museum, that should be replaced. Or Wayne could cut them selling that. Perspex. So that they literally put it on like that, it hasn't broke. They literally put it on thin. Is that Perspex or glass? There's the mountains. Mount Erigal. I'm looking at that map, I don't see it matching up with the mountains I'm looking at. I'm just wondering, should that sign be around there? What I see there and what I see in the hills is different. But it's a bit cloudy. There's the lighthouse up there. That's a good view of the lighthouse. See, you could fall down there. I think this fort's older than the one above. So that's why she hasn't got the mud cons. You know, the wee hoists. So in this one here, if I was to interpret this one as the one above, that bunker they call it, that's where they kept the live rounds. And then when they brought them out, they put them into these cabinets, ready for the gun. And the only disadvantage with this system, the boys are further on. It takes more men to turn that gun. While when you winch it up from below, it probably takes less soldiers. Yeah, another one of the hydrants, but this one's got a top on it. I've never seen a hydrant with a top on it. See, there's no reason why that tap shouldn't be returned. So far, highly recommend the original foot above. Not so much this one. Save your €7. Like there's steps there for something. Why? That's a signal. He's using a railway line. Is that what the signal to each other in the forts? That bar is not doing a big lot there, so I doubt that mustn't be the original. It's cogs in it. See, then again, I'm looking at it, I don't know what it does. I'd say save the €7. There's nothing telling me what that is. See, they built this thing. For what I make out there now, whatever pole was there, it was hinged. You can unfasten it here, and the thing would have folded down. For you to do what you want, whether it be maintenance or what, the pole would have just folded down flat. Can't do it now because they built this thing. I prefer seeing the original mechanism folding down. I'm a bit disappointed in here. That's all new. So when that was new, what was there? They didn't build a wall with nothing on it. They must have took something away to put that there.
Attention! Welcome to Fort Dunree.
His eyes
This
look
is
a
the
bit funny.
museum building where you'll find out much more about the varied history of this special place. Go on in, and I'll keep watch for enemy invaders.
Saying that, he sounds more Northern Irish. Sounds a wee bit Northern Irish, or Northern Irish. See, I'm jelly here too, like. So the whole thing's contaminated. Them Viking buggers have been off and down in 795, so you can't watch them. You can't watch them, boys. Way back then, up the scallywagging things. Anglo-Normans began to invade Ireland in 1100. See, if the British never invaded Ireland, all the ones were going to do it. Germany would have been here. It's here for the taking. Scottish warriors and all coming in 12. Everybody wants to take over this wee bit of bogland. 1607, Flight of the Earls. All them boys aren't running like. It's a bit like that president now over in Afghanistan. He messed up and then he buggers off and leaves the citizens dead. In 1779, took a right while before, maybe we should do something here. Failed French invasion. Napoleon, 1815, Battle of Waterloo, the Great Hunger, the Famine of Ireland, 1845, 1849. So when you think 1861 is the American Civil War, before the American Civil War you still had slavery. So back in Ireland in 1845 you had ones going to workhouses. You also had slaves in America at the same time. Irish Civil War, 1922, 23. You don't hear a big lot about the Civil War. You hear a wee bit more now because of the anniversaries. But it's been kept quiet a while. Fort Dunree generates electricity in 1929. They handed over the ports in 1938. In 1939, war breaks out. I bet the British were kicking themselves there. Says, fuck that, we won't give that away yet. But war broke out in 1939, they knew what the Germans were up to long before war broke out. So through the room, come here in 1991. Racing disappeared as well. But like in Flight of the Hours. I thought this was interesting there, and it showed the number of ships that sank. I think each ship, and depending on what they were carrying, if it was an oil tanker, maybe you would have maybe 10, 20 people on it. If they were Navy ships, hundreds. Well, that's shipwrecks to 1918. That's not what the German submarines sank. .600 documented shipwrecks. I've read this twice. That's what I guessed. Look. By 1911, a concrete jetty was placed to facilitate resupply by sea. Too hard to feed an army by bringing the stuff in by land and then wee roads. In 1905, 225 horsepower electric light generator engines were installed on the site. So there you go, see the building. You've got the wooden walls, you got the metal of the A-frame, concrete floor, metal grille. So if you go up there now and you see a building, well, but it's cut out like that, you need to guess that was electric generators. But why did they not have a wee sign next to it, saying that was electric generation station? Because So I would say if you go up now, you see that wee pipe coming out of the concrete? That would still show up today. You could make out the outlines of the floor where the generator sat, if you've seen it. The generator is on different concrete. That concrete's probably going way down deep. The electric things is on concrete that's probably going down deep because of the weight. And the rest of the concrete's probably thinner. In all honesty, I don't think the Irish Army could have done much coastal defending for what they had. You take the defence that Germany put up in France to keep the British and all that. Bunkers everywhere. You get one of the big warships and then big guns blasting at you. If they built enough of ships into that port, they could just blast this place off the face of the earth. And the concentration camps. Oh, we've got something we can play with. Like a periscope, trench binoculars. I'd like to see how they worked the sight in them guns. Position finder was used on the top of the range finder table. See, one of them pillars we seen had two wee slots in it that would have maybe lined up, something like that. Range and bearing. They haven't showed us how it worked. So it actually sits on a wee table with writing on it. There's your puller. See, I'd rather see a video of that. Things we don't know about. Number one, is that a wee case made of leather? Cartridge container for 9.2 inch gun. Everyone came pre-packed, eh? So there's mortar. I think once you get your mortar, the thing's not live until you screw in the tip. I'm not an expert in mortars. So I think the tips would have came, there's a white tip on that one. The tips would have came in a separate box. It's like the detonator was. So you could bung them in the large, drop them, do what you want with them. They weren't going to go off. But once you put in the detonators. So somewhere in them bunkers, you would have the detonators in a separate box and somebody would have been screwing them in before passing them over. I have old bandages in my house, World War bandages. I have an old gas mask. I have old gramophone records. I have an old cigarette box, the wee sailor, I have one of them in the house. I have a box camera. I got my own museum. I've got a couple of ration books. No ration books in that.
This ship could be in big trouble now because they're not going to the examination. Just give me a second, I need a signal. Those flashes are the international Morse code signal for Oscar Lima, which means heave to or will fire. Let's see what happens now. Thank goodness for that. They're heading over to the examination area now. In all the history of Fort Dunree, the guns have never been fired in anger, and I would hate to be the one to break that record. I have to get back to my station now, but I hope you enjoy the rest of your visit.
See, a lot of them boys sound local rather than southern, but you think, well, even when the Irish troops came here, you would have Irish troops from all of Ireland, so you should have all the accents. If I met that boy in Fortification, you just think he's a local. I've never seen a brass mine before. Is that a mock-up or is that the real thing? I think that's a mock-up. The whole idea of a mine is when it goes off, the shrapnel is what does the damage. Then again, you can see the real thing down in Port Rush. Now that's a mock-up. You see, nothing's real here. Nothing's real. Soon you come to the public. We need to grow up thinking mines are made of copper. And one of them are my water bottles too. Look how the uniform is folded up in that box. That box would be a brave bit too, wouldn't it? Go around town, but that box is much bigger than the wee shelves the boys got. I put the stuff on. See that thing out of the Great War, the wee magazines? That was probably a wee porn magazine back in them days too. Oh, they had them, wee black and white ones. Oh. All soldiers had them. I must have a wee bit out too, have I mean, I must have a wee bit out before I leave. This one-way system. I don't think it matters, there's not very many people here. I paid me $5. Oh, I didn't look this side here, you see. So there's one of them wee aiming things, is it? Is that an Enigma machinery model? All the windows are blacked out. So when the architect made this place, you had all light coming in. Didn't even notice the shells on the roof.
Unidentified ships are first given the signal to close port. That's these three red lights. And then they have to do the examination over there in the state, where they are boarded and inspected by armour. And if they're friendly, they are given permission to enter into the lock. This ship could be in big trouble now because they're not going to do the examination.
1989, the Irish Defence Forces were restructured. 90s and 90s. This place has deteriorated. 23 years.
Those flashes are the international force that sail across, which means
1990, 1st of June 1990, it's closed. Can't believe it's deteriorated so much. So it must have been in a bad condition even before they closed it down. That's probably the reason why they had closed it down. 31 years it's gone from a camp where people were sleeping in, eating in. 31 years till half the camps disappeared down to the foundations.
Where are they now, those army men who soldiered then with pride? In those long-gone 40s, they served by Swilly's side. Some hailed from far-off counties, from the Liffey, Nore and Lee. From Shannon's Pride and Slaney side came the lads to Fort Dunree. A company small of engineers of coast defences came, an attachment to the artillery, a battery of great name. So in that fort in Donegal, by Austell near the sea, the engineers
That's from number body.
were stationed in Dunree.
Ballymena,
Our man in charge, Lieutenant Ryan, he treated us with care.
Armagh, Mayo, Dublin, Glasgow, Wicklow.
From sweet Kenmare. Jack Brett, who came from Derry, the corporal Carlos came, and Corporal Redmond from Ellard's Board, they both served in Dunree. Our senior man of Bailey,
This is inside the toilet. The extractor fan is broke. And there's a bit of perspex fluid on the holes for them. Lock.
Oh, you're back.
No, I'm leaving. I'm tired of still going too clean like for plus you pay €7 like. I asked them women before I came in as it was worth saying. They said yes. Them women haven't been too many places. See that there looks worth seeing. We can't get up there. No, we can. They can chuck one out there. I've seen the rest of them. Excuse me, sir, you can go up there. Over the back of it, that's not very historical looking. Oh, that's stupid if they say anything. This is just going up to the wee tricolour. But no, there's a wee bunker there for something. I'll not be paying all €7 for a while. I need to see it now when I'm here. Look, a wee seat in there. That's where them boys come up for the wee smoke there. See them boys down reception? They want a wee smoke to come up here. With the wee shutters on there. Wee shutters to close. No curtains. That one is in very good condition there. That young boy at the reception, I don't know, he probably just got his leaving cert and he's qualified. I was sitting in a chair. That flag's actually lowered, it's not even up. There, but it's lowered. There you go now, I've seen a wee bit of the fort that the other ones are scared to come and see. Ah, disappointed. Tab fort, brilliant. Brilliant, tab fort is brilliant. Working mechanism, but that's only because I went to the space I wasn't supposed to be and seen it. But I'm glad I've seen it now, because I was always wondering about it. There's steps there, going up to the side. There must have been a wee building there, it's no longer there. Steps going up there. They built this wall. That's not original. There's plenty of fields around Donegal now. If you want to build something, you can build a field anyway. But if you want to privately pay to see an historical thing, you want to keep it. That boy died here. 9th of August 1885. That was 1985, 1885. So does that mean only one person died here? Probably an accident. Probably fell or something like that. Maybe it's crushed with something. GNR, what would that be? Grenna Junior, what would it be? GNR. W.J. Coulter, R.A. But that wee plaque wouldn't be that wooden base from that time. I don't know what that is. Maybe it is a wee bit brassy if it's gone fully colour. You see wee hints of brass. If it was polished up, it would be brass. That's just a memorial from the people from Mull. But mentioned Dunree there, but there's nobody from Dunree. Burnfoot, Newton Cunningham. Dunree doesn't have a big population now, how do they have one now? So that must have been the regiments who were based here, do you reckon? At Fort Dunree during the First World War. 10th Irish Division, 36th Ulster Division, 16th Irish Division. They couldn't have all been here. Maybe they were here at different times. He's going for a smoke break now. There's a proper mine there. That's what a mine is there. You don't need that copper one. Worcestershire, Greencastle, the 9th to 10th, 86. Geez, she's been bobbing about the seas a bit while, that one. Is that 1986? 1886? That'd be 1986. The Germans lost that one. There's nothing to tell us anything about here. Do you think this would have been a hull? Was it a hull? You know, how did the actual fort, why was the fort built here? How did it defend that fleet? There's nothing to tell us now that. That's the bit of the doorway here, the drawbridge. So it had a drawbridge like originally. Never seen the mechanism of a drawbridge before. The trains are still going there yet, the slack. There's no way of working out with that bar going on the bottom. It wouldn't work. Well, luckily the sun didn't come out. The boy left there about 5 minutes ago. Went out that way.
Are you going already?
He's away about 5 minutes ago. No, I'm going now.
Okay. It's open, but there's nobody selling tickets.
Away for smoke, probably.
Maybe we come back.
There's a wee theatre just in there. I would go on ahead. We'll see that. See that back door?
Yeah.
A wee theatre in there.
Okay, that's good.
Pass the time.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Back out that way. If he's not here, what can you do? Like?
Okay, that's fine.
Well, got there, boys, a wee water tap. Got that, boy, water tap. I'll get my €5 worth now. A wee bag of water for one. That young boy in there, no harm to him. I don't know what orgy he got in his leaving cert, but didn't teach him how to smell it. Oh, the car's still there. The wallet's still in the car, I wonder. Drink of water, Pet. Oh, you drink of water. That I get. Oh, it's fresh. Oh, fresh. Wallow, drink of water. Wallow, Mom, drink of water. Hey, well, you need a drink, Pet. Wallow, Mom, we drink of water. Wallow, come on, drink. Put it on your bowl. She needs a drink, like. She needs a drink. Get rid of this ice stuff here. Wallow, look. Look, fresh, fresh. Look, fresh. I was going to run away, Pet. All the water's running away. You need to take a drink to get that filled up. What, you need it? You have to dry food and everything. You did. Well, you really do need a drink, Pet. You're not going to last today. You've had nothing to drink all day since we left home. You've had your dry food for dinner, and you are going. I'm going to throw this water over you. You need to drink. That's a girl. That's a girl. Oh, you're going to collapse. Wasn't worth seeing, Willow. Wasn't worth seeing. Disappointed. If I got in free, I'd be disappointed. I'd be just saying glad I didn't pay for that. But the thing is, I didn't. I did pay for it. Oh.